The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. You're so wrapped up in your news stories for today.
There's no audio. I didn't get the intro audio. I was still reading I was still reading some of the material. Well, hello. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. It's a Monday in the Riv, and obviously live TV bites us again. So.
And remember, today is September 11th. Please take a moment.
Yeah, please.
To just remember so that it's never forgotten. This morning as I was watching the news, it actually broke in between the Hurricane Irma, now Tropical Storm Irma, news broadcast, which I'm so tired of listening to Irma at this point. I'm waiting for the rains to come in. But it's been an interesting weekend, and also it has been an interesting day in the newspapers and on Facebook. This has been getting crazy.
Yeah, your audio's a little low. I don't know.
This is the election season from hell. I'm telling you now.
Yeah, to say the least. I mean, we've seen some really bizarre elections in this city, but I think we've got a new champ.
Yeah, well, the interesting thing is, and you and I have been in politics for a long time, Chip, and the thing that gets me is I'm looking right now, and this is going to lead into the story, the first story we're going to cover, into old school politics strategies, and it's the strategy of distraction. Starting yesterday, individuals started posting, I'm not even going to name them because it's not worth my time, old stories that go back to 2014, 2015 about Sean Kadim and Linda Pereira and different people popping up all over the place, and they're old stories. We know that these things happen. They have nothing to do with what's going on in Fall River today. And I am so tired of hearing people say fake news, fake news, fake news. That came out of the Trump campaign, and it really boggles my mind because it's fake news when you don't like it, but when you like it, it's all accurate, even though that may be fake news. So
Well, yeah. Well, I think the difference here is that, I'm not sure if fake news is as bad as old news, because old news is old news. It's history.
Right.
You learn from it and you move on. Some of these stories obviously have, they have no bearing on this election, or because the people involved in these stories have been reelected.
Exactly.
So obviously the people have looked at that, and whatever the incident they're trying to portray, they've looked at it and they've moved past it. And the explanation they got or whatever, they decided to say, okay, and they entrusted these people by reelecting them. So, give it a rest. It's just, as you said, a diversionary tactic.
Yep.
to take everybody's eye off the fact that we do have a, we do have a man that's being investigated by the FBI, whether you believe his source or not, as the story says. And that source just happens to be him.
Exactly.
Which makes it really bizarre.
Well, our friend over at the Herald News, Mark Dion, calls him the daycare Don. I call him the diaper Don.
No, actually, I liked the you used yesterday in the you took something from Batman. You remember that? You remember what you said?
I can never remember what I said. I'm always lost. You took something from the old Batman series on television, and but he's getting so many names now, you can't keep track of them without a scorecard. I mean, it's getting
It's getting really, really, really crazy. You know, you called him Boy Blunder.
I know. Boy
Yeah,
Blunder,
not Boy
that's right.
Wonder. That's
Boy Blunder.
Batman. You know,
that is. That's
Robin was, you know, I don't know.
Yeah,
Boy
Robin
Wonder.
was Boy Blunder, and I believe that was the Joker who called him that.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a Batman quote. So
That's right,
That
it
was,
was.
you know, I thought that was pretty good. But like I said, he's got, so now the daycare Don, and of course we all know the Boy Emperor, which you coined too. We have to give you full literary credit for that term. So,
You know, but you know, I think it's funny because something that a lot of these zombies have said. Every election year, we hear that the mayor is under investigation by the FBI. The mayor is under investigation by the FBI. The mayor is under investigation by the FBI. Even during the recall, we heard the same thing. And for some reason, these people who think there's something special because they were part of 70% of the population that voted for a recall. They think they're the behemoth voice of the mount, and you know they're not. They can't seem to walk past that and do what they did during that monumental time, and that is to ask the serious questions. Okay, now this mayor said he acknowledged he was under investigation by the FBI. He then retracted his threat, his challenge to the Herald News to release the tapes. The only thing that people are asking for is to release the recordings. Because I'm going to quote him, let them hear with their own ears, and this will show that I'm not lying. Okay, so vindicate them. Release the tape. Release the recordings. That's all we want.
Yeah, the irony of that is, you know, look, he reacted. He had a knee-jerk reaction when the story came out to defend himself, and he made a political, you know, oh well, you know, it's wrong, and you know, I challenged them to release the tapes, and then he realized if they did, they'd actually hear what he said. So if you want to remove any doubt, obviously your supporters are going to now flip just like you did, you know, spin around like a windmill and say, well, we can't remove. You know, you demanded they be made public, and now no, we can't do that because there's conversations that, you know, should be kept private, which is code for I said some things that I really maybe don't want the citizens of Fall River to hear, and you know, and as I said, as Mark Dion said, you know, in fact, even though he confirmed it himself, he's questioning the source. So I think, as we talked about Friday, there seems to be a lot of confusion in our mayor's mind. He wants the tape he made public. He doesn't want the tape. Now he confirmed it himself, but he's questioning the sources, and so. I mean,
But I think
it's bizarre to say the least.
I think one of the things that I don't want people to miss in Mark's column is this one statement. If the recall was a revolution, this may be its sputtering, gasping end. And, you know, he's right, because you had 70% of the city come together to change city government. And then all of a sudden, after that was done, they all went their separate ways. And, you know, as many people have said, and as I will continue to say, if this group of individuals was so strong, so powerful, individually or in small groups, how come they never elected any of their people to office?
Well, no, that's a very valid question, but you know, I have to disagree with Mark on that. I don't think it's the sputtering end. I think it's unfortunately just human nature. You know, the recall was epic in one regard. That was the fact that it brought so many people from so many diverse backgrounds and so many different groups to come together to get the signatures collected, and then we had to litigate it, and then it went to the ballot, and then 70%, of the people who voted actually listened to the message, and they wanted to change government, and they used it to change that government. and then they got a mayor, and they didn't like what he did, and they changed it, which I'm a big advocate for it. You know, if the government's not working for you, change it. Am I going to fault people for making bad, picking the wrong candidate? No, because I've done it many times. You listen to people's rhetoric, you listen to what they say they're going to do, and then they don't do it. Well, then I don't vote for them in the next election. It's that simple. People make promises. You listen to those promises. If you feel that that's the best course of action, you support that candidate. I don't think it's a sputtering. What obviously I question is people who were dissatisfied with the mayor that was recalled for his shenanigans have allowed this mayor to make him look like basically an amateur, but they still cling to the fact that this guy's always right. And that's, but I mean, hey, what are you going to do if that's the way it is? I just don't understand how, you can be against the purple bags, against all the other shenanigans, and then turn around and actually support someone who has opposed the purple bag, has been in favor of the purple bags since their inception. So that was the beginning, but it was probably a tell that they were going to be, this is about friendships, their personal relationships, and as I've said numerous times, I don't think it's a sputtering. We'll see in this election if it's sputtering. If the fact is, look, we just haven't had a candidate that's executed the promises that they made when they ran for the office of mayor so far. Probably the closest one was the one that had the shortest term. Sutter fundamentally was doing some things that were good, but he imposed a $10 fee, and as Mark said, he can't believe they bounced him over a $10 bill, but they did. This is Fall River. $10 is a lot of money, and he knows that in Fall River. So, but what gets me about this is it's not a sputtering. If the people go out, that's the only recourse we have besides a revolution, and that can't happen again. This isn't 1776. We're not fighting with muskets. They're giving the police department tanks and Humvees and M16s, so you can't pick up your rifle and overthrow the government. The only way we can overthrow the government is by voting. And a lot of people say, this is ridiculous. We continue to get one mayor after another mayor. Well, I'm a big advocate of getting one mayor after another mayor till we get a mayor that does it right. And get one councilor after another city councilor, after school committeeman, after another school committee, until we get people in those offices that are going to represent the people.
Right.
It's that simple. So, I disagree. I mean, he may be right, because if the people come out, and, re-elect someone who, to me, has proven he's not doing the job or what he promised, because all you got to do is look at his campaign flyer, and he said, he attacked Sutter for keeping a part-time corporation counsel, and he not only kept him, but he gave him a pay raise. He attacked him for having a part-time chief of staff, and he got one of those too. He said he was going to cut salaries in City Hall, and he gave everybody massive pay raises and stipends. So if you think that's keeping your campaign promises and you want to support him, obviously you can do that. And, and while I'm on that, I'll say it now, and we'll say it at the end of the show. Please, by all means, go out and vote. I don't care if you vote for him. I don't care who you vote for. But I truly believe you have to vote in order to have to have a complaint. If you don't vote, shut up. You don't deserve to talk, because you didn't go out there and at least exercise your right to attempt to influence government.
Oh, my goodness. Something logical.
So, I mean, this is this will be without a doubt one of the You know, like I said, I think it's the most bizarre election I've ever seen, and that's saying something because I've seen some caucus in my time.
Well, after our show on Friday, the Herald News came out with an opinion piece. Our view, like you, we want the truth. The prospect that our mayor could be the target of an FBI investigation merits our complete attention so that we can, in turn, inform our readers. I agree with that. Okay? And the Herald News recorded this. Now, there's a lot of allegations of why people have to record conversations with the mayor or that they have to meet with the mayor with more than one person present. And they say that he's not truthful, he changes his story, whatever the case may be, politics is politics. All right? But the Herald News recorded it to prove their veracity, to make sure they have the evidence they need in case they're threatened with a slander or libel suit. And the one thing that they said about this is, you know, whether his public challenge of the Herald News account of his interview was disappointing, Carrera did later apologize. We appreciate the 2+ hours he spent on his own with our editorial board Thursday in an attempt to clearly communicate his concerns about news coverage and further detail the current state of the federal queries. So again, he verified that there is a potential federal investigation. Why is it so hard for people to say to the Herald News, release the recordings? Why is the Herald News having such a problem deciding to release the recording, especially before the primary? Do they want to protect him? Are they trying to protect him? Are they not trying to protect him? What are they doing? It's important that the people know the truth, and they have a right to understand it. This mayor challenged the Herald News to release the recordings. He blinked. He blinked.
But then he recanted that.
That's right.
He recanted it. So, you know, maybe his confusion is contagious, and now they're confused.
I think so.
Because no, you're right. He doesn't want it. He doesn't want it released now, and so. But you're right. I think that because of this, and because of the, you know, because of the you know, the accusations made, he challenged, as it says right here in the article, he challenged the veracity of the Herald News' reporting. And, you know, he said and challenged, you know, then he said that he only challenged the headline.
Right.
Even though the headline reflected, oh, the audio's good now. Okay. Even though you know, I think the headline was fair. I mean, let's face it. Newspapers always have to have a headline that catches your eye. What are they going to say? What are they going to say? Put it in little tiny print that, you know, the mayor said some things that might be important to you people. You want to read this article?
Diaper Don asked to have his diapers changed.
You know, so it's like, yeah. So, I mean, you know, it's just, this whole thing really smacks of, you know, he brought the public into it because he basically challenged them and said that they misled the public. And you know something? If I worked at that paper, I would prove to the people of Fall River that we didn't mislead the public.
That's right.
And because he now said, oops, I might have got caught, and, you know, I shouldn't have said that because I probably said some things that people, I don't want the general public to hear. But you know something? Tough. You're the guy that said you wanted it. And if I was at the Herald News and he questioned, you know, our honesty and veracity, you know, honesty, veracity, fundamentally, okay, I would say, all right, you know, you asked for it, you got it.
That's right. And the thing is that I was taught a long time ago, once it comes out of your mouth, you can't put it back in.
That's right.
You can't take it back. You got to own it. And I know that you got a certain individual walking around out there. Throw something at him. Because he says the same thing. But, you know, what's really interesting is City Council President Sean Kadim came out with a statement over the weekend, I guess. And now all of a sudden, this is fake news. And I'm going to read the statement. Do you feel any safer in our city than you did 2 years ago? While the police department continues to work hard with the limited resources they have at their disposal, our crime stats continue to rise, which is something I brought up previously, that since this mayor has taken office, overdose rates have increased, crime rates have increased, violent crime, gun shootings, theft, you name it, it's all happening. Our crime stats continue to rise. The reality is that the police department only have 5 officers handling sex crimes, 1 officer handling missing persons and financial crimes, and the vice unit only operates with 7 police officers. And we continue to run a 10-car patrol on most days. You notice it says most days, not all days. Shootings continue to riddle our strengths, some even occurring in broad daylight. When responding to the fact that there has been no press conferences about the recent shootings, Jazel Correa responded at the September 7th mayoral debate with, "We are going to have a press conference without a solution." Let's go over this. September 4th, not that long ago, Baker and Warren Street, several casings found and 1 building struck by gunfire. August 24th, at least 10 gunshots were fired Wednesday night at the 200 block of County Street, making the 3rd reported shots fired incident in Fall River within the past week. August 18th, 20 gunshots were fired in the parking lot behind the church, and additional 2 shots were fired in front of 53 Wiedemo Street, which was struck by at least 2 gunshots. A triple-decker a few feet away was also struck by at least 5 or 6 gunshots, with damage being done to all 3 floors. Neighbors described a chaotic, loud, and frightening scene just after 3 p.m. July 30th, a shooting before 5:30 p.m. Sunday on the 400 block of 4th Street, and a short time later in the area of Hamlet and Cook Streets. August. Okay. To date, Jazel has not highlighted a plan of action to address the uptick in crime, and it's true, he hasn't. Okay, and he's going around saying that he doesn't. He's going to have he didn't want to have a press conference to give the city another black eye. Well, you're doing that on your own, Mr. Mayor. You're doing that on your own. We made national news over the weekend. National news. What was the national news headline? Mayor of Fall River investigated by FBI. Wow, what a black eye that was. You smacked us right in the face with that one, Mr. Mayor, and that was because of what you said. That was not only carried by the Associated Press, it was also carried by ABC News.
Look.
Not Channel 6, ABC News.
Yeah, well, what should be carried is the absolute ridiculousness of this statement. The quote, "We're going to have a press conference without a solution." Really? He said that in the debate.
Yes, he did.
That's a quote.
That's a quote.
Well, okay, wait a minute. Houston, you should have never called those press conferences about the hurricane. You didn't have a solution.
Right.
I mean, what was your solution? What were you going to go out and try to push the hurricane away from you? And only after you did that, well, we're not going to do it? No. It was a danger to the community. You call a press conference when things are happening that is a danger to the community. Shows that absolute, immaturity to the millionth degree to make a statement like that. That was a political statement. You don't have it without a solution. No, it was your cover for dropping the ball and not having a press conference.
That's right.
For not informing the people. Because the fact is, when gunshots are ringing out all over Fall River, you think the people should be aware? No, because they might say, you know something, Mr. Mayor, what are you doing about it? The problem is you were right. You couldn't call a press conference because you didn't have it, but it was you that didn't have a solution. You knew about the problem, but you hadn't figured it out yet. You hadn't figured the solution out yet. That's the problem. The problem wasn't that you can only call a press conference when you have a solution, because that's not true. You call press conferences all the time. And you call press conferences when there's an emergency situation. You don't think the mayor of Chicago had a press conference when they were with all the murders? You had the police commissioner on television. You had the mayor. You had everybody on television.
Alerting the public to these things increases vigilance. People will start watching, and when they see something, they'll say something. You hope. And if you have a press conference and you tell the people, look, there's been these gunshot shootings all over the city. When you see something questionable, call the police right away. Tell them what you suspect. Have them come out and pay a visit. Doesn't mean they're going to turn around and say to the shooter, hey, Mr. Shooter, Johnny Smith over there in 145, any street said that you were shooting people. No, they're not going to do that. But they're going to look at the situation.
Well, the problem we have here, CJ, was that they actually, and we know in some cases, actually tried to suppress the news of these shootings. Because we announced one on this show that didn't appear in any other news outlet for 3 days.
Yeah, well, we're fake news, that's why.
But you know why? Because some reporter, probably from the Herald News, whose veracity he questions, if he held a press conference and announced 50-some shell casings and went down the litany of shootings that we had, that Sean Kadim highlighted, that reporter might have said, well, Mr. Mayor, what are you doing about it? What's the plan? And guess what? The reason he didn't have a press conference was he didn't have an answer to that question.
And you know why he didn't have an answer to that question?
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
Yeah, what he probably is going to say is, well, what I did was I got rid of shots fired because it doesn't work. Or then maybe, again, we got so many shots, we want to pretend they don't happen. And I got rid of the ATF officer. So why should we get rid of the firearms officer, the alcohol, tobacco, and firearms? The reality is that we didn't do anything about it. Actually, we did things that actually harmed this thing. We have the public in jeopardy here. We had, I don't know, you got to count the shots now. What do we have, over 100? Yeah. Around 100? They found over 100 casings. And, you truly believe that doesn't necessitate a press conference? You truly believe that doesn't constitute a danger to the people of this community? You don't have a press conference for that? Well, how long is it going to take you to get a solution? Maybe that's one of the problems. The people are seeing how long it doesn't take you long to put a stipend in front of the council, does it?
Didn't take them long to say, I'm knocking down this house.
Yeah, it doesn't take you long to get the inspectors down to a place to throw them out of the building. But we get shots ringing out all over the city. I still haven't heard what we're doing.
No,
I still haven't heard anybody say, well, this is what we're doing. We've increased whatever we're doing. I haven't heard a plan. So I understand why you made that comment. I just think that it was absolutely ridiculous.
But here's the thing. Sean Kadim came out with this statement, and right away they started posting all kinds of stories from way back when he was censured by his town administrator organization, and about his foreclosure. All old news, stuff that we already know about.
Yeah,
and they're trying to use distraction.
No, you know what they're using? They're using something that goes along with the individual who they're trying to protect. It's
right.
It's the childish way to do it. Johnny did something too.
Right, exactly.
I didn't just steal the cookie. Johnny stole the cookie too. And Mary stole a cookie.
That's right.
Well, guess what? Johnny stole a cookie 4 years ago, and the fact is he's been reelected. So obviously the people knew about it then, and still said, okay, it wasn't important enough, or he explained it enough, but whatever, the public was aware, and the public reelected him. We had a cycle. Let's not try to dig up, look, as a matter of fact, probably they probably should have dug up Lizzie Borden. Maybe they had something to do with that, too. I don't know.
Anything's possible.
But hey, look, CJ just disappeared. Here he comes. Well, there's our close. Everybody, please go out and vote. I don't care who you vote for. It's not just a right, it's an obligation that you have. You know, we will not control our government unless we vote.
We'll see you on Wednesday after the election.
Stay angry and vote.